Hey y'all. So I just wanted to jump on here and say I'm gonna speak my piece. I look a little crazy because I just clearly washed my hair and it's hot outside. So I just kind of want to address the political BS that's going on lately. Like I want to believe. I want to see the good in people. I do choose to see the good in people. That's how I've always been. Probably why I've gotten into abusive relationships. So I'm pretty good at spotting that stuff. The problem is, I struggle to create really strong boundaries to get away, or even if I did, they push back even harder. That's a whole story in itself. But I just want to say that when it comes to politics and stuff, I know a lot of people don't want to be a part of it, and personally, I've never really been into politics for a very long time. But when I started trying to understand it, things aren't black and white. They just aren't. Society pushes black and white, just like they segregation of black and white, things like that, and technically there really is that still going on, and there definitely is that still going on. But generally, society pushes extremes of good and bad, left and right, and all that. But the thing is that it's fairly rare, I would say, in my opinion, that everything is all good or all bad. That's just not how it is. We have negative thoughts, we have positive thoughts, your emotions can change you. I mean, that's just how life is. Nobody's all good or all bad. There's things there, just not, it's unrealistic and irrational to think that those extremes exist. Even in the worst people, there's good in. And even in the best of people, there's negative in there. And that's not a bad thing. That's being human. But we really need to start seeing the gray areas, that because there's no back and forth. We need to start paying attention in our political part, at least. Like when you vote locally, or even when you vote larger, don't vote just one side, Democrat or Republican, because even Republicans have democratic views at times, and even left has right views. I'm a mix of both. I feel like it's necessary to be that way in our society. So don't go in, even if you vote locally, and just vote one side. Plus, politics is just all about manipulation, and it's a smoke show. A lot. They can say one thing and be hiding something on the other end. They can politically say out loud during their running that they feel one way, and then there's other viewpoints that counteract or counterintuitive or whatever, that kind of cancel out that in their views. You just kind of have to pay attention. And so whenever I go to vote, I do look up the candidates, even if it's briefly, to kind of get a general idea of their viewpoint. They can say one thing right now, but in their historically, they're against it. You know what I mean? So it's like, know who you're voting for. I go in and I have no idea about the people until recently, and I go back. I literally vote per person. That's just the best way to do it, in my opinion, because you never know what can happen, and your vote matters. That's that, okay? But on the other hand, like, we need to stop ignoring toxic traits. We have to stop ignoring toxic traits, and that happens when you don't. Let me put it this way. Toxic positivity is a thing. Like, trying to live a positive life and blatantly ignoring the signs of negativity or toxicity is really bad. It's just not, it's not good for our country. It's not good for you. And so those things do exist. If you choose to ignore the negative because you don't want to live in a negative life, you're not really living positive. So it's like choosing to ignore certain little things that pop up when people talk, or even Freudian slips, are, I mean, what is it? Ignorance is bliss. It's really not. It can screw up our political climate, and while you might not think it affects you, if it continues going on like it's been, it will eventually affect you. People are talking about the grocery prices going up. They've been talking about that for a while, and it just continues to climb. And while it may not climb very much, over time it climbs a lot. And so you're like, what the hell is going on? So that's a good example of how certain little things can kind of pop up and change us. I'll give you a good example. There's so many things out there, and I'm not going to get into this thing about Trump, but there's so many Freudian slips that he says that people ignore. Like saying, he said something the other day that really came, like, it's like, pay attention, y'all. And you laugh it off because you just think it's a joke. But like he says, smart people don't like him. They don't, because they see the BS. They catch those little things, and everybody else is laughing, and everyone in the room with him was laughing, and he legit just called them dumb. Like, it just, and somebody could say I'm twisting it, but I'm not. You have to pay attention to those little things. And that's the stuff, is like, we have to stop ignoring those little things, because they do add up and they do matter. They do matter. And I'm not going to get into all the details about all the stuff, because I do think about it when I'm not recording this, but this is long enough. And all I'm saying is we have to stop ignoring these things. We have to stop ignoring those little things that do pop up, and they do add up, and they do matter. We're doing it way too much in our political society, in society in general. But we're also, that's on one side. Again, like I said, it could be left, right, it doesn't matter. But then there's other people that are like way too butthurt about things. So there is a middle ground. That's what I'm saying. There's extremes. Like, people are either ignoring it or choosing to be blissfully dumb about stuff and say it's not a big deal, when those things are a big deal. People saying the stuff, people that are in politics that may not have a huge push, or it may not seem like a big deal, they do find others like them, and eventually they're passing laws to force you to do stuff. Now, you can believe whatever you want about the abortion and stuff like that, but honestly, it's the bigger picture is about women not having control over their bodies. And I think if it had to do with men, it'd be completely different. And so, while I'm not about killing people and all that stuff, or killing babies, and we were talking about all that stuff, I think I know statistically, it's not very common. Women don't just go around being like, I just want to keep having a fucking abortion, because so I can just keep having sex and doing whatever I want. That's not how it works. That's not, percentage-wise, women don't just go off and do that. That's just not, why are we focusing on these things? And it's kind of like people focusing on trans going into, oh, we can't have a man. I want to protect women. We can't have men, perverts, going into locker rooms to see women. Well, first of all, let me explain something. They're not going to be openly just walking in and staring. You could see somebody standing right there staring at you. That's not how this fucking works. What? Second of all, bathrooms are not policed. People can do whatever the fuck they want to, honestly. It's just a general, having a law against it isn't going to stop somebody if they want to. Generally, if they're a pervert, they're going to go in there anyway. And there's a difference between someone dressing up to just go in there and be a pervert and whatever, to somebody that lives that way. That's not how that works. And then you want to try to force somebody to stay in a locker room where they're dressing as a woman and going in a locker room with men who more than likely are going to sit there and abuse or bully and make them feel like shit. Like, what? Why would you do that? Like, generally that's not how that's going to work. And if you're worried about children are not going to be openly in a locker room undressing unless they're with a parent, and the parent typically shades, like a good parent would keep them from being seen by anyone. The logic, like, I don't, people are stupid. That's all I know. But you can believe what you want to believe. Again, that's me not seeing the negativity in it. I'm seeing the positivity in it. And I understand there are negatives to it. But the percentage of those people doing that, the percentage of people living that life, are very slim. Why are we focusing on this? That's not even this shouldn't be politics. It just, And then on the other hand, talking about how black men have the same opportunities as white men. That's just ignorance. And why that's ignorance is because I also was ignorant. Growing up, you think that way because you don't know someone else's life. You don't know any different. Or you could have been white and grown up broke. I grew up broke. We were broke. But our finances got better. But here's the privilege. There was land for my parents to put a trailer on. New or not, whatever, it doesn't matter. There was land there. There was something to help them. There were parents to help them. Even if they didn't have much either. That's privilege. Whether you want to admit it or not, that's privilege. And you can sit here and say, well, it's because they don't work hard enough, or they didn't do enough. Well, their parents before them didn't have anything, generally. Okay? Generally. And so, when you're not given opportunities, you can date back, and you can say that that's generations and hundreds of years ago, or whatever. Whatever you want to say, however you want to say it, whatever your beliefs are. It still is generational. You can't get ahead when you're always treading water. I generally feel that way right now with my overwhelming amount of cats and everything else going on. But I'm telling you, you can't get ahead if you're always treading water. And then they try to get ahead by doing these illegal things to try to get them ahead, and then they get caught, and then they get stupid, and then it's kind of what they're surrounded by. And that's why the community raises each other. That's just how it is. And women are more harsh on the men because they do these bad things. I mean, if I work with the different populations, and my ignorance, I was ignorant when I was younger. That's just how it is, because I didn't understand, I didn't know, and I won't fully understand because I don't live their life. But now that I've seen it and they've explained it, and these are the things that I've been made aware of through working with the population, both those who've worked hard to get out of those situations and others that were given opportunities by people that helped their way and then busted their ass or taken advantage of the things offered to them because they are minorities. I mean, there are opportunities out there, but they're not the same as the privilege you're born into just by being white, because doesn't matter who you are, we were given more privilege because the slaves, if you would have lived in the South, I mean, we built those empires or homes or the finances on the backs of slaves. Like, they didn't have that. That's the whole point of these things, is that the privilege is not the same. You think it is, but it's not. And you may be given the same opportunities, but people, whether you are open to minorities or any of those things, that generally they are not given the same opportunities. People say that they are, but there's still racism embedded in there, because we can listen. I'm even bad at it, because sometimes I'd be like, well, if you just get a real job and you don't do this and you don't do that, and that's stereotypes, and stereotypes can fit people, and people of minorities will also admit that those things exist. It's just how it is. So I have to catch myself too, and I have to give people the benefit of the doubt, but those stereotypes do fit a lot of times. And it is hard to catch yourself in a lot of that stuff. But just like that, we have to stop being so ignorant to the toxicity of fascism. I mean, the bigotry out there, and just straight, it's just toxicity, this toxic masculinity, and just, you have to catch these little things that they say, or their facial expressions. Narcissist and people are great at manipulation. You have to catch those things. They could tell you one thing and they're fucking lying, or they're telling you that just to placate you. And if you don't know these words, please look them up, and it doesn't mean any less than you if you don't know the words. I have to remind myself, even with all the education I have. But I'm telling you, you have to see through the bullshit. I understand wanting to see the positive people, but you just have to see through the BS. And that's going to be it for me. I just want to say lastly that doesn't mean because I don't agree with someone, or because they're hateful, that I can't lead with love and care about them as being a human being. People are humans. They don't deserve these public executions. It's awful. It's awful. They don't deserve that. Nobody deserves that kind of stuff. I don't care who you are. It's just not right. But let me explain something. If you're going to lead with, oh, it's the Bible, I always talk about the story with Peter and Paul. Kind of kicking them out of the church and saying, look, you're leading with this hatred and hypocrisy that is not okay. You're leading with this negativity that is not okay in the church. You're being a hypocrite. It's not alright. We love you, we care about you, but you're going to have to move around, leave. You're more than welcome to come back when you are in a better frame of mind, you're thinking better, you're leading with love rather than this being a hypocrite, basically. That was the whole story. And I think so many people, when you read about the stories in the Bible, they take them literally, and they don't see the underlying story and the purpose and the takeaway of these things. You know, a lot of times it's not about the details of the story, it's about the bigger picture, the meaning of them. And the whole point was, I love you, but you cannot stay here. I can love you for being human. I can love you for just being a human in general, but I don't agree with what you're doing. I don't agree with spreading this hate or this bigotry or this whatever it is in these situations, not just in the story of Peter and Paul, but the story of life in general. Like, I don't appreciate these people spreading this stuff. But I can still love you for being human and not be surrounded by you. I can try to understand where you're coming from and improve my understanding, and maybe it'll change who I am and my views. But here's the thing, I still don't agree with you, so I'm going to move around. I don't have to be around you. I don't have to try to force you to believe what I believe. But here's the thing, people try to do that all the time. And then they still hate someone for for believing something else. I just don't like people spreading hate, and that's the thing. And you can not want to be a part of that, and that's okay. But being ignorant to somebody that is spreading hate because you only want to see the positive in them, you're doing the same thing. You're spreading that hate by ignoring the hate that's there. That's my whole point in this, is like, don't be ignorant because you only want to think positive. That's toxic positivity, dude. Pay attention to these things. But you don't have to be butthurt at every little thing. I'm not saying being overly sensitive. I think that exists as well. I know that exists as well. But toxic positivity is a thing too. Don't be ignorant to these things. Pay attention. That's it for my rant for today. And that's all I'm going to say on the subject. Okay? Love y'all. Bye.